Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to tonight's Citizen of the Year and Peace Officer of the Year Awards dinner, honored by the Amador County Peace Officers Association. My name is Melinda Aiello. I am the past president of ACPOA and the Chief Assistant District Attorney. And before we go any further, I want you to know, yes, I am standing. I don't know if I need to take the subtle hint from the American Legion Hall, but they got an even bigger podium from last year, and I fear that if I weren't wearing heels, you wouldn't see me at all. Anyway, it is a pleasure to be here tonight. We have two wonderful honorees, Adam Dalton from the Jackson Rancheria, and Philip Lowry of the California Highway Patrol.
As Melinda said, I did have the honor and privilege of spending 31 years in the Sheriff's Department, and I absolutely loved it. And I tell you, when you hook up with people in the business, no matter what their exact capacity is, or what it is they do in law enforcement and criminal justice, I just find it, there's just a bond that exists there that I cherish and always will. As I was telling the sheriff, it's still, if I drive by a traffic stop, I can't help it. I got to slow down until I see four fingers, make sure everybody's okay. I will never, ever change that. And hopefully they'll still kind of have some idea about this old geezer that's driving around with the gray hair doing that and not get paranoid when they see me. But there's something about the business that I will always love. And a big part of it, I think, is really embodied in the fact that law enforcement officers and the criminal justice system in general and people who recognize the good work of law enforcement officers and the system that protects people, the selfless protection that exists in the community because of strong, brave, valiant, well-educated and trained people who are willing to go into harm's way to make the world a better place and to keep us all safe. It's extraordinary. So it is truly an honor and a privilege for me to be here tonight with this very, very good, wonderful group of people, and what a great place to have it. So let me just tell you from the bottom of my heart, very sincerely, thank you for giving me the opportunity, Melinda, to be here and be a part of this. As you look around the world right now, this may be a little bit of an elephant in the room. I'm a little bit sensitive about bringing this up, but it's germane, and I think it needs to be looked at and discussed. I hope you don't see it too much in the beautiful foothills of Amador County, but there's a wave transitioning across the nation, and you're seeing the effects of certain agenda-based bits of information that are being pushed out into the public that is changing attitudes towards law enforcement. And I think it has the potential to have, in fact, some cases I know it already has, had a detrimental impact on the lives of law enforcement officers. There's also something, and as a prosecutor I think you'll appreciate this, it's contaminating to a great degree, I fear, right now, the jury pool in some of the major urban centers in the state, and very likely across the nation. I have a consulting business, and I always hated consultants when I was on the job. You probably hate consultants too. Now I am one. But what my consulting is, specifically, is litigation consulting. Expert testimony. I defend largely law enforcement officers in civil litigation. I testify for the defense. And that is to say the civil defense, not the criminal defense. So I have an opportunity. I've testified in every federal jurisdiction, federal court jurisdiction in the state of California, and in many of the superior court districts, the counties in the state. And I've seen in the last 6 to 8 to 10 months a bit of a change. And there's a couple of high-profile cases actually right down the hill in Sacramento of late where the jury seems to be predisposed to believe the worst of law enforcement. And again, I hate to bring that up. I hate to put a pall over this wonderful gathering of good people here to voice appreciation and celebrate the lives of good people who do extraordinary things for the community, but it's reality. It's where we are. And some of the things that happened during my career in law enforcement, I think, have to be acknowledged today. And I used to tell my trainees this. When I started in law enforcement back in 1979, probably a lot of people in this room that were not yet born, and that is very unkind of you to make me feel that old. But I actually, when I went to court and took the stand, it was presumed that every word I uttered was the truth. And I took that obligation seriously. I wanted to maintain that. And I noticed a transition over time. In fact, when I first went to homicide, some of the prosecutors would say, hey, if you don't object to it, show up in uniform. I want these people to really fully understand who you are, because that brings with it sway. The sway of knowing that you're somebody who represents truth, and you're going to testify in that manner. And it's going to have a positive impact on the state's case. Over time, that began to change. It got to the point that even patrol officers were discouraged from wearing uniform when they went to testify in court. And a lot of that came out of a desire on the part of many people with agendas to change the manner in which law enforcement was perceived by the masses. And I think the reality is we need, as a community, as a broad cross-section of the community, people who appreciate the good work that law enforcement officers do, as well as people within the system. It's important to not take that for granted and be very mindful of the fact that it's incumbent upon us, well, I guess you now, but actually all of us who can share the message about what it takes. Very interesting numbers. My last year as sheriff, well, actually it was the year before my final year, we gave a test for deputy sheriff. The plan was to put 70 people in the academy, 70 pre-hired people in the academy. And we went through we gave the written test, and we noticed, first of all, that the successful candidates in that written test at that juncture, this goes back to 2008. So it's actually my second, 2 years back before I retired. The number of people who successfully cleared that first hurdle, that's the written examination, 1,600, which sounds kind of impressive, but given historical context, it wasn't impressive at all. But from that point, again, we're trying to start a class of 70, and of course you want to have more people that are already pre-background and through the psych and the medical that you can put into the next class. Out of that, again, 1,600. They go through the psych, the background, and the medical would lose a few, not a lot. It's mostly background investigation and psych. Out of 1,600, we started a class with 41. Graduation day, 18. So that's, for people in the business, you know, that's the way the qualification system works. That's the standard. That's where it's been set. So for people in this, who are part of this, again, this is what I perceive, wholeheartedly believe actually, as an agenda-based message to really compromise the reputation of law enforcement in the community, to suggest that these are people who set about the business of doing bad things to good people. And that's the message that's going forward. And I don't know if you're seeing it. I hope you're not seeing it yet in the beautiful county that is Amador. But it is certainly in the urban centers. The change in the manner in which juries perceive the testimony of officers, the action taken by officers in the field is huge. So my request to everybody gathered here tonight, if you're a good soul in the community who appreciates public safety and law and justice, and you have an opportunity to point some of this stuff out when you may hear people chipping things to the contrary, I think that's a solid thing to do. For people within the business who really truly know not just the hard numbers, but the attitude. You think about it, in so many cases you have law enforcement officers commuting from someplace else. They're actually, not in this case because it's so beautiful here, but they're actually leaving a home in a beautiful area in my former agency to go into an area to protect lives and preserve property in an area they would never consider living. That's the ultimate, that's the epitome of selflessness. And again, you know the standard through which, or the hurdles they must, through which they must go to meet the standard. It's extraordinary. So I think that message needs to be shared. For people inside the business, again, my generation, we compromised that. We did. There were things that we did. There were high-profile cases in which law enforcement professionals failed to meet the objective standards, failed to do what was right, and it compromised the reputation to the extent that a very proud law enforcement officer may be directed by a prosecutor who wants to win a case, who wants to persuade 12 members of society that what's being told is truthful, to not wear that uniform in which they have so much pride when they testify. That's a sad commentary. So covet that respect that you know you're worthy of. It's that important. It's that critical. And my sincere hope is that we see a kind of a cycle. And we're seeing, I think, a number of broad swings of the pendulum, because What happened back in the early 90s and then into the mid 90s? Think back, not so much a reflection on the people within law enforcement, but within the criminal justice system. Society became very frustrated. Commercial flights ready to sit in a first-class seat, and they'll give their seat up to a uniformed member of the armed forces, which is extraordinary. It's wonderful. So my hope is that as time goes on and people have an opportunity to see reality, that pendulum with regard to respect for the people who represent, I think, the finest society has to offer, the people I'm proud to be associated with, and the people who make me very proud and pleased to be in this room tonight. And I think that's America's finest. So that's my hope. That's my hope, is that we wind up solid. But until and unless we see change happen, my request of you and my prayer is that you keep doing what you're doing. A wonderful community that's blessed with good members of the criminal justice system, the finest leadership you could have, who do great things for the people in this county, both from the enforcement and prosecutorial perspective. I think that's extraordinary. Keep doing that. Keep appreciating it. And for the people who have the honor and privilege of wearing that badge, you can never give it too much respect. Thank you all very much, and God bless you.
All right. Without further ado, however, I would like to now move to the actual awards presentation. Rich Hoffman, would you please come up here?
Thank you. All right, well, I was asked to say a couple words about Adam, our Citizen of the Year nominee, and it's great to see so many folks here tonight. I recognize a lot of the tribal folks, but having grown up here, I thought I'd recognize more of the law enforcement folks. But if you'll indulge me for just a... Let me give this a try. There you are. All right. So it is great to see everybody here tonight. And it's my honor to introduce Adam and his acceptance of this award. I was going to come up here and just read my nomination letter, which thank you very much for accepting and following through with. But I thought a lot of you know that a lot of stuff that Adam and the tribe has done for the community. So maybe I expand on just those couple of things a little more. You read, I'm sure, in the last few years about the work that Adam and the tribe and a lot of the folks sitting in this room done up at Indian Grinding Rock State Park, Chausa, getting the roundhouse rebuilt. That project has been completed, but what you may not know is that that sat in kind of decay for a number of years because a lot of different people had different ideas about how it should be redone. And not that any of those ideas were wrong, but they were just different. My family says it should be done this way. My family says it should be done this way. And it was Adam who brought all these folks together and got them to agree on a way to move forward. And that allowed this project to happen. So some of you may not know that, now you do, and that's the only way this project got done. A lot of you read about the parks projects here in Amador County, starting up in Pioneer with the park up there, and then moving down to Dietert Field in Jackson, and now currently Mini Provost Park in Sutter Creek. Those are great projects. I know Adam has taken a lot of pride, and the tribe has taken a lot of pride in helping build community around those projects. So not just going in and writing a check and saying, you know, how much is it going to cost to fix this, but how do we work together, roll up our sleeves, and get this project done as a community? And I think that builds community a lot better than just writing a check. And I think that's important to understand. And then the Butte fire just recently, as was mentioned earlier, we were fortunate in the respect that we had a facility, the food, the staff, and really the only power when the fire started to pull off some kind of an evacuation effort. And it was Adam who got that going, who got that started, who told us, the managers there, that look, you guys work on your individual stuff. Don't worry about the expense for this. We need to take care of all these folks. And it was one of the best things I ever did. So I'm fortunate to be involved with it. But we were able to provide a home for, about up to 1,500 people during the high point of the fire who just wouldn't have had any other place to go. So thank you for that. So. And the other thing, kind of circling back to, what we all have a common interest in is, people doing good stuff and being productive members of our community. What you may not know is that Adam personally and the tribe as a group has taken on the responsibility, not the charitable responsibility, but the human responsibility of giving a lot of people a leg up. And again, this isn't charity, it's providing a job, some pride, and something to do for a lot of people who would have ended up in the system otherwise. So, encouraging work and productivity and pride in your life and what you're accomplishing has brought a lot of people up. So I have a big round of applause for that. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce you to not only my boss, but my friend and my brother, Adam Dalton.
So if I could have Supervisor Oneto come and present the board resolution. Perfect.
I must say I'm quite happy to be here to honor this gentleman. We went to school together. We've both come a long ways. And I'd like to say that Adam and the tribe have been very good citizens of the community. They've been members of our community. I think it's been shown time and time again that they're part of our community, and they've been really they've given a lot to this community. And I think people recognize it and appreciate it. And I think the Butte fire was above and beyond Call of Duty. It's what happened there was a real disaster. The only good news I can see out of it is how these people, the people from Amador, Calaveras County, and other areas came together and took care of each other. Government can only do so much, and at some point in time, you find the government really is the people, and the people came together. And what Adam and the Rancheria did was really, it was awesome. It really was, and. So I'd like to thank him for that, and I have a resolution here from the Amador County Board of Supervisors, and if you just give me a second, I'd like to read it and then present it to Mr. Dalton. This is a resolution from the Amador County Board of Supervisors recognizing Adam Dalton as Amador County Peace Officer Association Citizen of the Year for 2015. Whereas Adam Wayne Dalton was born April 21st, 1965 in Jackson, California, to Margaret and Earl Dalton Sr., and whereas Adam graduated from Jackson High School in 1983 the last graduating class of Jackson High School Tigers. And whereas Adam married his wife Janet Pickett on February 4th, 1995, and whereas Adam is proud father of Tessie Dalton and Adam Dalton Jr., AJ for short, and whereas Adam Dalton became vice tribal chairman in 2005 and tribal chairman on January 20th, 2013, and whereas Adam is considered a true visionary and since his election has worked tirelessly to restore 4 local parks and ball fields to date, with the promise of eventually repairing all parks within Amador County with the ongoing support of volunteers. And whereas Adam immediately initiated relief efforts and quickly opened the doors to any and all evacuees affected with the Butte Fire tragedy, transferring the hotel into a Red Cross emergency shelter, which together with the tribe offered assistance to many terrified victims. And whereas Adam compels others with his vision and drive to touch the lives of others, particularly those who are less able to help themselves. Therefore, it be resolved by the Amador County Board of Supervisors, State of California, that said board is hereby honor and recognize Adam Wayne Dalton as a 2015 Amador Peace Officers Association Citizen of the Year. The foregoing resolution was duly passed and adopted by the Board of Supervisors of the County of Amador at a regular meeting thereof held on the 27th day of October 2015 by the following vote. It was unanimous. So with that, Adam, congratulations, and we thank you.
We're not done yet. I also have a certificate for Adam Dalton, certificate of recognition from the California State Legislature. Mr. Adam Dalton, Citizen of the Year 2015. Congratulations on being named Citizen of the Year by the Amador County Peace Officers Association. Your efforts to improve the lives of the residents of Amador and Calaveras counties is honored and appreciated. Assemblyman Frank Bigelow and Senator Tom Berryhill, November 7th, 2015. And we're almost done. Okay. See if I can get this here in one piece. All right. And on behalf of the Amador County Peace Officers Association, I would like to give you the Citizen of the Year, Adam Dalton, clock, as well as your Citizen of the Year mug. Now it is your turn to speak. We'll do that in the bar later.
Okay. I'm very humbled. When you speak of Adam Dalton, always remember that without the generosity of my tribal council, I would not be able to do all the great things that I do and my family does. So I'd like to recognize my tribal council who's here tonight. If you would stand up and make yourself known. A lot of you know, remember my mom, Margaret. She paved the way for all this awesome stuff to happen, and I hope I took the baton from her and did her proud and did my family proud. I very much love this county, and I appreciate the law enforcement in this county, and I want to work a little closer with you all to help you achieve your goals. I'm very happy to be a Native American today. I'm very happy to be alive today. I've had 11 surgeries in my life, and a few of those were life-threatening, and grandfather kept me here for a reason, and I'm very glad that he did. And I like to say my wife Janet is a big reason I'm here today. Very much so. I'm very proud of my family. My brother Robert runs a logging business in town. He's got logging trucks in there on Sutter Creek, a bypass there, and I'm real proud of Robert. I'm real proud of his son, little Robert Jr., who has an auto shop in town, and my niece Jessica, Vice Chairman Dalton's wife. I'm very proud of her. She has a great business in town. We're always going to be part of this community, and I want to let you know that the things that we've done from our hearts, and we're going to continue doing for this county as long as I'm alive. And I'll always have your backs, and I'll always be here for everybody in this room, and all the people in this county will always be here to protect you and take care of you. And I love everybody, and I just wanted to say thank you very much for this award. I know my mom's looking down on me, and my dad's looking down on me, and they're smiling and they're hugging me, and I miss them both very much. But I hope these words that I told you tonight fill your hearts with a little more joy that our tribe will always be here. And we're not just here for ourselves. I want to let you all know that we're here for each and every one of you. And we respect the peace officers, the law enforcement. I don't think that the perception that you talked about is here in Amador County. That may be out there, it's not here. We're friends and we're family, and we all recognize each other. And congratulations to all of you for all the hard work that you do. And lastly, I don't want to forget my son back there, Adam Jr. My daughter Tessie wanted to be here, but she lives in Idaho, and she couldn't make it down, so I always want to put a shout out to my baby girl too. Thank you everybody tonight. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Really appreciate everything you've done for them.
And continue to do.
We are truly lucky in Amador County.